GearNetwork.com.
This is a Gear Network production.
You're listening to Better Live Than Dead.
How's it going, everybody? We are live here at the Casa de Luckman. It is the BLTD, what do you want to call this? The NHL Trade Previewcast?
That sounds good to me.
It is also the first episode of, it's the inaugural test episode of the Please Like My Podcast, because let me just set this up for you right now. I'm Ryan Wolf, at WolfBLTD on Twitter. To my left, Andy Meyer. He is at
Andrew Edits.
Andrew Edits. I thought about your old name. You didn't say hi to the people.
At Andrew TRW is my old name.
That's what I was going to say.
From my blog that I ran for 2 years.
It's a long time ago.
The Rough Riders, and then I decided to keep that branding for like 8 years.
Too many years.
Yeah, and then like this past year I was like,
all the years.
I'm like pretending to be a blogger and I'm not, so I'm a video editor.
You can still be.
Yeah. Oh,
TJ, to kind of move this along here, to Andy's left is TJ, Mr. TJ Luckman.
Hello.
You want to tell people your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is @StudyRiot.
TJ is a blogger, but in the time he has, since last July, he's written 2 things.
I'm so excited
But
about
guess
that.
what, though? They both have been dope as hell, and he still calls himself a blogger, and it's fine. It's okay.
I don't know if I call myself a blogger.
Well,
I just enjoy writing
You are
every
now.
once in a while.
You are now.
Oh, okay.
God damn it. You are now. Sitting across from me, to the left, the northwest, I guess.
Clockwise.
TJ?
my favorite celebrity baby.
Just clockwise.
For those who can't see, I'm flipping TJ off right now. Brayton Wilson is here.
Hi.
The original Sabercast host.
Yeah.
I'm having like an awkward moment here. Like, this is just weird for me. I don't know.
I'm reminiscing of the good times that we
I know.
used to have.
I know. It's like me and you.
And it's just like,
I'm blacking
and I
out.
feel like we can't, like, with our lives that we have right now, we don't get together as often as we used to
No,
to
and
podcast about stuff.
We've got a giant cast. We've got a lot of people
Right,
here.
and it's great and all, but it's just like, you and me would always do like every other week or something like that, go on and do, the podcast together.
Now we're all grown up, single tier.
Yes, all have hardworking jobs where we don't have...
I don't really work hard.
Well, I guess you could say the same thing about me, but, I have crazy hours.
Well, yeah, you do.
Let's
Yeah,
just
you
go
do.
with that.
And then joining us on the couch, I was just about to. I wanted to keep it PG, but yes, sitting on the casting couch, Sam Rodriguez.
The big comfy couch.
How we doing today?
I don't know. You're the only.
Oh,
holding
hold on.
Ryan's
I'll give you mine. There we go. That'll work.
Do you want to talk into 2 microphones at once?
I mean, I don't see how that would work, but
For those at home, we're running off of 3 microphones right now for 5 people.
I had a
We're
better
just
idea.
passing.
TJ, I had a better idea when I set this up in my mind because I remembered you had a giant table, and I'm like, we could all sit around the table, and it would work. But maybe it would be better if I sat next to Sam, and then you two, and then Brayton just has his microphone because he's clearly judging by the mic
go
flag.
ahead. You
better than us.
can join Sam
I'm going to.
on the casting couch.
I'm moving over next to Sam.
And
Okay.
you can tuck her in close to me here.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, so
It's that good content.
let's get this podcast started. Let's start off with we've got a couple days before the trade deadline, March 1st. We're not going to start with the deadline, though, because that's why you guys are here. Everybody's here to talk trade deadline. I want to talk about, because we have we have 5 different minds, 5 different hot takes, sets of hot takes. I want to see what your guys' current state of the Buffalo Sabres roster is. Who's good, who's bad, what has surprised you, what has made you very pleased? Because while we want to believe the Buffalo Sabres are ready to make that next step, there's still a lot of stuff that they need to do in order to make the jump from being a mediocre team to a playoff team. So whoever wants to start, just start speaking some words, and we'll go from there. Or should we do like a counterclockwise thing, or should we just?
We should probably have some sort of order here, just because we don't want to be talking all over each other.
We'll just go. I'll go to my left. So Andy, you can start. What are some things that maybe are good or bad that you like or dislike about the Sabres this year, and in the direction that they're heading in?
Oh, wow. I like, obviously, the offense is high-powered and exciting, and we have high-end skill on the offense for the first time in a while, or at least consistent high-end skill in offense for the first time in a while. Goaltending has been amazing this year. It's ridiculous to have league-leading goaltending for the first time since the Miller era, I think. And then the defense is a tire fire. It's Rasmus Ristolainen and Jake McCabe trying to be adults, and they're very clearly not yet. And then a bunch of guys that probably should be in the AHL. Don't get me wrong, I love Taylor Fadoon, but as a number 6 or a number 7. They re-signed Justin Falk for another year. Apparently the team loves him, but again, I'm not really sure what he brings to the
Expansion
table.
draft.
Yeah, oh yeah, there you go. That's true. But yeah, so I mean, I love the offense this year. It's been exciting to watch. If they can get out of the defensive zone, the team is so exciting to watch. But if they can't, then it's like, this is awful and I hate it.
It's usually it's fun. It's been fun to watch them in times like that where they play games against teams who also have bad defense.
Yeah,
because they just fly around. But if they play a team that's got good defense or a very strong offense,
or like any kind of team that has any kind of jam. You know what I mean? Like jam, the term like in the neutral zone or something like that, where they slow them down and it's boring. The like devils of the world.
Now TJ, what are you thinking?
Well, I think that leads us into how the Sabres strategize against defensive systems, like actual defensive systems.
Yeah, let me stretch past the podcast to you.
Ooh, see there you're hating on it because the stretch pass is an integral part of the Dan Bylsma hockey system, and all players will tell you. Brian Giunta has said this a lot of times that most systems are all the same. It's just you got to execute it, but. The stretch pass, I think this roster is not set. I don't think any roster is really set up for that type of system. But for some reason, it worked for Dan Bylsma when he started in Pittsburgh, and he's just kind of never gone away from it.
Just remember who he had in Pittsburgh. Though.
Also true.
Chris Letang, Sergei Gonchar.
Also true, Brayton. But it also stopped working in Pittsburgh after a while. And, ended up boning him in the end, and now he's coming here. Yeah. Well.
I hope that got picked up. Where's Sterling Archer when you need him?
Yeah, right. Phrasing. But yeah. So there's the whole stretch pass thing, and I don't know if any roster is set up for that. But I like what Andy said. The offense, when it wants to be, is very high powered, especially on the power play. I believe they have the top ranked power play in the league. Maybe top 2. I don't have those stats up with me right now. Brayton is typing things into his keyboard, maybe to check for me.
It's great that we're doing a podcast and only one of us has a computer. We have our phones.
I came prepared.
Yeah, that's nice. I currently don't have a working computer and I am broke, so
I built a computer, but it's a very large undertaking.
And you don't want to carry that, right?
Yeah.
But
especially when it's pouring rain outside.
I think the power play is very good.
I have your answer for the power play. The Sabres are actually now third ranked in the NHL.
Well, now they're terrible.
Behind the Minnesota Wild and Toronto.
Oh, okay. Oh, Toronto.
I love it that even when Brayton's not at work, we still make him act like he's doing his job. Like we've got people talking, and then we're like,
"Hey, Brayton, can you crunch that for us, please?"
We're not really sure what this is, and then we'll just keep talking. Brayton's like,
"Actually, it's this.
It's third, guys."
So
you're good at what you do, is what we're saying.
I've gone into full blown producer mode, and I'm not getting out of it. I don't think
nothing wrong with
soon. That. No, not anytime soon. Sabres are second worst penalty kill, if you were wondering, by the way. They're actually now separated themselves a little bit from Dallas because Dallas is now at 73.5%.
Before we go kind of a little further and go over to let TJ finish and go over to Brayton, what do you guys think about that? Is the penalty kill due to the system or the lack of actual penalty killing talent on the team?
Well, that's the thing, is that I think the team does have some penalty killing talent, but they don't use it. Bylsma has gone away from using Ryan O'Reilly on the penalty kill this year. I don't know if you've noticed that. He doesn't get as much penalty kill this time this year because he wants to use him in more offensive situations like the power play. Basically, he doesn't want to do what he did to O'Reilly last year and just gas him and play him 30 minutes as a forward every freaking game.
Yeah,
he has no problem doing that to Rasmus Ristolainen, who, quite frankly, might not be able to handle that.
Not at this point.
Yeah.
No, and I think if the Sabres were getting close to a playoff spot or going to be in the playoffs, you would see a guy like Ristolainen probably burn out real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
But it almost seems like they are willing to play him a lot now because they feel like if they play him a lot now, he gets more exposure and he's able to adapt. Because we've seen throughout the year, I mean,
you've seen flashes.
People on Twitter like to show the fancy stats in the graphs we were talking about that say he's terrible. But we know by taking a little bit of watching the game as well as taking the fancy stats and realizing there's something going on there.
With Ristolainen, I think you have your stat guys who are shouting into an echo chamber about him being bad, and then you have Sabres fans who are shouting into an echo chamber saying that, no, actually he's good. And I think the answer there is more around the middle. to where when you're watching him play, you can see where he struggles. He struggles in the defensive zone. There's no getting around that. He struggles transitioning the puck. He doesn't make a good first pass out of the zone. That might be system. That might be him, and he just might not ever be able to do that. What he does do a good job, though, is when he carries the puck out of the zone, things seem to go better that way. And once you get him into the offensive zone, he's sublime. But don't laugh at me. I like the word sublime.
No, it's good. Yeah.
Andy's here today just for chuckle support.
Yeah,
I love it.
apparently.
Just trying to find any pun or anything that we can twist into a bad or dirty way.
And of course, we know how good he is on the power play. So there's a lot of good pieces for the Sabres, but I think there's also a lot of bad pieces for the Sabres that are kind of holding them back. And I'm not sure if that's roster related, or I'm sure we'll get into this, that might be coach related. But that's something.
Yeah, once we clear
the
the round table, we can kind of
Brayton, I'm going to turn things over to you now.
Okay, all right. Well, the one thing that I wanted to pull off of Ristolainen's point with you is that another thing that a lot of people don't necessarily think about is look who's he's playing against on a consistent basis in the defensive zone.
The top lines.
He's always playing against the top players. Sidney Crosby is a perfect example. And last year, I remember specifically a shift where Crosby's trying to fight for position in front of the net, and Rasmus Ristolainen is all over him, jabbing him in the back, trying to throw him down to the ice, not giving him that position. And that's what he consistently does. And you look at his Corsi stats at the end of the night, and you see it's like 19 to 41, and it's just like, wow, that looks really bad. But then you think about it, and you watch the tape, and it's just like, he's playing up against their top units in the defensive zone quite often. And I mean, it's something that, you want Ristolainen to be able to play more on a two-way basis, and that's why we want him to be a top defenseman. But at the same time, he's our top defenseman because he can play really well against top players. And that's where I think that he's in that boat of he's good because he's able to play against the top guys, but yet at the same time, he can go down the ice, skate with the puck, and take the puck to the net by himself. I mean, I remember talking with a good friend of all of ours, Matthew Collar, one time at WGR 550, and he said when Ristolainen played in Rochester right away, went to Rochester in his rookie year, he wanted to skate with the puck so much he would take it to the net, and he was so good at it that nobody could keep up with him in the AHL. But I can't remember who the coach was at the time.
I believe it was Chad Cassidy.
It might have been Chad Cassidy, yes.
Blast from the past.
Yeah, blast from the past, that's for sure. He said he didn't want Ristolainen doing that because while he could do it very well, he wanted him to be more of a more well-rounded player. And I think that's where Ristolainen really began growing as a good two-way player. And we even saw it in the World Juniors when he scored the golden goal. Takes the puck along the boards and literally just forces his way to the net and scores. So I guess that's enough about Ristolainen. But going back to the full team, I think that the Sabres are starting to find their craft a little bit at forward. I think that they're starting to realize, okay, Justin Bailey might be a long-term future piece here. Even a guy like Evan Rodriguez, who I don't even know if anybody really thought that he was going to be an NHLer. He just gets called up now, and they send Derek Grant back because Derek Grant is a terrible, terrible forward, fourth liner at best, and he can't score. He can't do anything production-wise, and that's why he went back. Yeah. Where Evan Rodriguez, he can skate, he can shoot, he can create plays, and he's playing on a fourth line with Matt Molson and Tyler Ennis. And for the first time this season, I look at that lineup that they're going to put out against the Avalanche tonight, and I'm thinking, this actually looks like a decent NHL.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it's actually decent.
Well, the thing that Rodriguez gives over Grant, too, is that Rodriguez has speed. And the one thing we've noticed the past couple of weeks with having Bailey, Baptiste, and Rodriguez in the lineup is how much faster they've been. We know Baptiste is back in Rochester, but it seems like after struggling, because I know the whole Bailey thing goes back to training camp, because last year he played so well, people he expected from what he was saying to have a spot on the team this year. Didn't get it. He was in the first round of cuts, so it was kind of an embarrassing thing. Goes to Rochester, doesn't get the first call up, and has to work his way back and prove that he belongs.
Right. And he struggled early in the season in Rochester.
Terrible.
I went to a game in I think November, and he had a wide open net and just fanned on it, and the goalie was able to get across in time to make the save. And afterwards, he got up, he slammed his stick against the ice, went over to the boards right before the line change, slammed it against the boards. And after the game, I asked Dan Lambert, it's just like, is he getting frustrated with his game because he's struggling so much? And like Lambert didn't really kind of answer the question. He just kind of pushed it aside. But that's Dan Lambert. Like he's oftentimes going to answer your questions, but sometimes he will push aside something and bring about something that's the bigger issue. But with Justin Bailey, though, he's found his game, and at the NHL level, he's skating incredibly well. I mean, I was at the game on Wednesday when they were here in Buffalo. And to me, I wasn't impressed with Justin Bailey, but it kind of just seemed like he was just like, okay, I'm here for probably a game. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna play well and well enough. He didn't score or do anything like that, but I mean, still, like when he comes up here, he just looks so much faster than everybody else. And he's also playing on a line with two players who necessarily aren't the fastest of guys. They skate well, but Ryan O'Reilly and Kyle Oposo aren't fast like Justin Bailey.
But they think the game. I mean, the thing about Jeff Merrick, one of my favorite things that Jeff Merrick likes to say is all the best players figure out at a young age that the puck moves faster than the player does.
Right.
So the thing about having a fast guy with Roar and Okposo is that they think the game so well that they're going to move the puck to the fast guy, and the puck moves quicker than the guy.
Yeah, they don't have the speed, but they have the mentality.
Yes.
They know where to create space, where to find the puck, where to anticipate any sort of pass.
Yeah.
Now, and
real quick, Brayton, sorry, that's
absolutely.
the one thing that always kind of gets me about when people bash on Reinhart. He may not be the fastest player, he may not be flashy, but if you can think the game faster than other people, that gives you an advantage. How like Eichel's speed gives him an advantage. The fact that guys like O'Reilly and Ristolainen and Oposo can think the game faster than you play the game, that's huge.
Right. And another thing is like you got to have guys that if you're going to be thinking that way, you got to be able to keep up with the guys who can skate faster, like an Evander Kane. Like, I mean, you look at the line with Reinhart, Eichel, and Kane. You got Kane and Eichel who can skate faster than lightning, and then you got a guy like Reinhart who's not the greatest of a skater, but he's following the play. He's reading where everything is going, and he's able to put himself in a position where he can make a play or get a shot on goal and give his team the best chance.
Be the trailer.
Yes,
Be
exactly.
the trailer.
Speaking of Reinhart, I remember. And I wrote an article for BLTD about Reinhart and his ability to play the game. He made a pass to Ryan O'Reilly while skating backwards through the trapezoid to the essentially to back where he came from, right on the tape, and O'Reilly buried it.
Yeah, that was the goal against Chicago last season, right? Yeah.
And
you guys do this? How do you do this? Sorry.
That type of hockey IQ is what makes up for. I don't want to say the lack of, but the top level speed he may not have, or So that's essentially what I'm getting at.
And
sorry again, and I have to point this out. As long as I've known Brayton Andy, he's always been like this.
That's nuts.
Like whenever we talk about
TJ,
whenever we talk about draft stuff, he'll just be like, "Yeah, this kid played a game like 4 Octobers ago, where I remember at 4:37 of the second period, he had a great shot on goal," and I'm like, I don't remember what I ate for breakfast.
Yeah. I pay attention to the small details. I could probably not even tell you what I ate for breakfast this morning, but yeah, I can recall anything that happened in a hockey game, which is incredible. I don't know. I can't explain it. I have no words for it.
I literally forgot to feed my cat yesterday.
No, that's
what I mean. Like I'm like I can't remember like to
the
do
look
the
on
things I do
TJ's
every
face.
day. Like let alone.
Did somebody else feed him?
TJ, cats can survive for like 4 days without.
Did somebody else feed him? Answer the question.
No, I came home from a good bar at 4 a.m. after my band set, and the food bowl was in the middle of the floor, empty, and Hugo was just screaming at me.
And guys, this is how friendships end.
How people treat their cats.
As we've got,
because if you follow me on Twitter, you know I just hate my cat, and I don't love him at all, and he's not my favorite thing in the entire world.
As we've got TJ's roommate's cat Eichel here. He's such an awesome cat. You post stuff on social media about him, and like every time I'm just like, man, I really wish I had a cat. I really wish I had a cat. I love my dog, but I really wish I had a cat.
You don't.
In Brayton, your dog...
Cats are nice. Cats are nice though because they're like fairly independent.
Yeah.
But with that independence also comes like this attitude. Aloofness is probably a good term. Maybe in Hugo's case. Hugo's very aloof.
Feed me and be gone.
Yeah,
that's
right. Basically.
You could be like my cat. You could be like my cat that just is super fat and lays around, and then when you pet him, he'll just try to bite you. But I did teach him how to stretch. Put my hands up under his armpit. He stretches out only for me though. Cats are weird. I love cats. Though.
Yeah, cats are great. Back to hockey talk here. Transitioning back to hockey.
We are the absolute worst.
All over the place. But
Cats are great.
Fire Dan Bilesma. By the way, we should acquire a cat. Like, what?
Make a cat the next head coach of the Buffalo Sabres.
I'm cool with that.
And with our goaltending. Our goaltending has never really been an issue here in Buffalo. I think that's one thing that a lot of people always forget, because I'll always field calls on WGR, like just people just saying, well, our goaltending's terrible. One guy should start over the other. I think that, we got to trade a goalie or something. Goaltending has never been an issue for us ever since Dom Hasek was here. Like, ever since those guys were here, they've been fine. We've had a couple of goalies, especially during the tank years, where it's been like, they're the only ones that are keeping this team from being the absolute worst team in the history of the game.
I was just I did talk to Brayton about this on the way because he called me real fast. I wanted to mention this because I was going to wait a couple more minutes until he came back to me, but I just do have to point out, guys, the goaltending, as Brayton said, is not bad at all. You got to remember, first off, Robin Lehner has set at this point in time through 60 games. He started 42 games. That's a career high for him. Career high in wins with 17. His third best save percentage, which, mind you, the two other ones were when he played less than 15 games. He had a .936 in 12 games in 2012-13 and a .935 in 5 games in 11-12. So he's proving to be the guy that they want him to be. It's just because the rest of the team hasn't come around yet, he doesn't have 25 wins. He has 17 wins. Right. And then you look at Anders Nilsson. Sorry, Britt. You look at Anders Nilsson real quick, too, who right now, there's 22 games left in the season as of recording time right now. I don't think Nilsson will start 6 or 7 more games unless something happens to Lehner, but he's on pace right now for career high in starts. 18 this year. He had 24 in 2015-16. He's on pace for a career high in wins. He has 9. His career high is 10 in 2015-2016. He currently has the lowest goals allowed per game of his career at 2.67 and the highest save percentage at .922. So like Brayton said, just because it's not Dom Hasek or Ryan Miller in net, people instantly think, oh, our goaltending sucks. But it's almost like we've kind of figured it out that it's not the offense that sucks. It's not the goaltending that sucks.
It's the defense that sucks.
It's the defense that sucks.
And that's where I'm getting at. Looking at our defensive core right now, and we're talking about it as we always do before we get on the podcast. Like, what's going to happen with the defense? Who's going to be exposed? Who we're going to trade at the trade deadline? And I'm looking at our roster. This is the closest we've had to, it is the closest we've had to our defense being full and healthy throughout the entire season. Justin Falk is our 7th guy, and that's an ideal 7th defender that we want to have, because Jake McCabe's now playing on the top defensive pairing, which I think is the right thing to have. Josh Georges is on the bottom pairing, which is the right thing to do. And then you have Zach Bogosian and Dmitry Kulikov, who we thought ideally would have been the perfect pair together to play with, especially when we traded for Kulikov. Now, the trade deadline might change things a little bit because Kulikov's going to be a UFA, Cody Fransen's going to be a UFA, so both guys could be on the move at the trade deadline. But here's the thing. I'm almost on board with the fact that I want to keep Dmitry Kulikov. Hey, TJ. I want to keep Dmitry Kulikov because I think we haven't seen enough of him to really get a good picture of what he can be for this team because of that injury that he had in the preseason. But looking back at the World Cup of Hockey when he was playing with Russia, he was on their top pair of defensemen, and he was playing really, really well for them, going up against the top talents of every team that was in the tournament.
Hashtag broke ass.
In the playoffs last year when he was playing for Florida against the Islanders, he's playing against the Tavares line almost every time that they step on the ice. He was one of their top defensemen throughout the entire tournament, and everybody thought that he was a good defenseman. His value was good. The problem is this year he's been hurt. He's been playing injured throughout most of the season. He's the perfect type of defenseman, the top 4 defenseman that will play 20 to 22 minutes a night and will be a stable force for you back on the blue line. And I think I want to keep Kulikov because of that reason. I think Kulikov is a better defenseman than Zach Bogosian. I don't know necessarily that he skates better than Bogosian because Bogosian's a really good skater, but I think Kulikov tends to make better decisions than Bogosian.
Well, and Chris, our friend Chris Ostrander at 2IT Buffalo says, and he talked about this on the Instigators podcast too, which by the way is I've been listening to a lot lately. Instigators is
the real Instigator podcast.
Yeah, the Instigators podcast. They were first. Super great. Kulikov, he raves about Kulikov's first pass.
Yeah.
Which is the thing that is maybe the biggest problem with the Sabres this season, right? Is getting out of their own zone with the first pass.
Yeah, and Kulikov has shown oftentimes this year he can make that outlet pass from inside of his own zone to a guy who's on the move down the wing at center ice, so then they can move into the offensive zone. But Kulikov has been needing to do things that he's not done with Florida, especially playing in the defensive end and doing more of those things. I mean, when he was in Florida, he was that first pass guy. He was more of the guy that is the two-way, but that's because the Florida Panthers now especially have more of a well-rounded game, whereas the Sabres are still trying to find that well-rounded game that they have been searching for ever since they started.
What it kind of comes down to, though, with Kulikov is how much do you think you can, like, how confident are you in your ability to re-sign him at good value? That's where I'm at with Dmitry, because he's UFA, right?
Well, I don't think it's gonna be something where they're going to be able to get him at a decent value, because he's one of the best, if not the best ones available right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's going to be something where you have to say, okay, yeah, we can get Kulikov at 5.5 a season.
I'd say 4.5 is a decent value for Kulikov, especially with the way that he's been injured and hasn't been playing.
Yeah.
Murray might go to him in the offseason and say, well, we want to give you $4.5 million, but let's sign you for 1 year or 2 years. After those 2 years are done, then if you're playing well enough, we'll give you another raise. We'd be happy to give you another raise. But he's making $4.333 million on the cap right now, which in my opinion, I think is just about right for the type of player he can be, especially when he was in Florida.
Yeah. The
way that he was. He's a physical defenseman that the Sabres really don't have on the blue line. He can skate pretty well. He's a good first pass type of player. His decision making at times can be a little rash. I think his problem is he tries to do something with the puck a little too fast. Like he's not patient with the puck. Like when he gets it on his stick, he doesn't want to have it on his stick too long. He wants to throw it around the boards on a backhand, or he wants to get it up ice. I think if he was a little more patient with the puck, I think he'd be that much better.
I think a lot of the problem too is, and this is just me I'm being kind of facetious but also very serious, I think the problem with Dmitry Kulikov is they traded Mark Pysyk for Dmitry Kulikov. If the Sabres had gone out and signed Dmitry Kulikov in free agency or traded like picks for him, everybody would be pleased. But because everyone is in love with Mark Pysyk, and I get that. I get the love about Mark Pysyk. Don't get me wrong. Don't at me. I enjoy Mark Pysyk too. But because people have kind of put him on a pedestal, you have to understand that like the reason they brought Kulikov in was everything that Kulikov is the reason they brought him in. And he has shown in the small sample size that we've gotten from him that he is everything Tim Murray wanted out of him. And it's not a bad move. I mean, yeah, it sucks because Pysyk's in Florida, but again, they needed a top pairing left-hand defenseman who would play physical, who would play smart, and for some reason, Mark Pysyk just doesn't have physicality in his game, so they went and got value for him.
Right, and Pysyk was a right-handed defenseman, and
playing left-handed, it was bad.
And he could
wasn't
do
bad,
it, but
they didn't want to do that.
He wasn't perfect at it. The thing that I want to say about Kulikov, and then I'll pass it along to you, Sam. I swear we will get you in on this podcast. We will talk to you.
Sam has been excommunicated from the podcast.
The Sabres need, and we've talked about this with Evander Kane, and I'll bring it up later when we do get the chance to talk about trading Kane and trading everybody at the trade deadline if we decide to sell.
Can we just fold the franchise?
No.
Damn it.
That's not likely going to happen.
Can we change name to the Buffalo 69ers?
That would be a little more interesting if we were joining like the XHL or something like that. But
the XXXHL. Keep going before we get off topic.
With the Sabres, though, I think what needs to happen is that Kulikov is a perfect second pair defenseman. He's the ideal second pair defenseman. He's not going to be the top pair defenseman with Ristolainen who's going to play lots of minutes every night. Kulikov is your perfect second pair defenseman who can play 20 to 22 minutes, as I've said before. But what the Sabres need to do is need to figure out, okay, is Jake McCabe going to be that guy that can play with Rasmus Ristolainen long-term down the road? And they got him for a good deal, too, like 2 more years at $1.6 million.
And that's the one thing I was going to say, too, is I think the emergence of McCabe, even if McCabe is not ready, and I'll make this short, too, even if McCabe is not ready to be the number one guy, you can still put him in that role and let him develop if you still have solid depth. But if you're putting McCabe with Ristolainen and then you've got Georges and Franzen playing the second pairing, you're screwed.
Yeah.
But if you have McCabe and Ristolainen and Kulikov and Bogosian, you can mix and match. Say there's a night where McCabe's struggling, you can switch it up because all those four guys work well together.
Right. And the health has been such a big issue. And I think really looking at the defense, I mean, even like Kulikov and Bogosian, with Zach Bogosian's decision making being rash at times, being not so good, and him deciding to try and play the body when he should play the puck, or playing the puck when he should play the body, it's frustrating at times because Bogosian can be a really good defenseman as well as Kulikov. And like those two together, if they could find something, I think the Sabres defense would be fine. But again, health and just everything that's really going on right now is tough. I mean, just as long as Josh Georges never steps on the ice with Rasmus Ristolainen ever again, I'm fine. All right, Sam, your turn. I pass the torch to you.
Well,
Take the microphone away. Take his microphone away.
it's nice to finally be able to talk here, But I want to focus a little bit on the goaltending. So we've seen what Robin Lehner can do. He's finally performing like the guy we've always kind of hoped. But even before then, there were plenty of little, I want to say, glimmers of hope prior to this, awesome run he's having. It's what we say. He's got 42 starts this year. He has 17 wins, so that's not the win percentage you want. But when you look at the save percentage, he's in top 10. You don't see that when you're a 500 goalie. You don't have a save percentage of, I want to say, what is 9.925 or something like that.
Yeah, and we see the amount of shots that go on
and
goal.
That's another thing. You see this Sabres defense, who we've all acknowledged is outside of, well, even including McCabe and Ristolainen, can struggle in their own zone, and we see Corsi stats that are way unbalanced because this team can't clear their own zone. And Robin Lehner, I'm not going to say night in and night out stands on his head, because occasionally he does give up a bad goal. We've seen it a handful of times this year, and it's frustrating.
Let's also just remember, every goalie's going to give up a bad goal. It happens every game.
It's just that Lehner's are more magnified because he's expected to be Patrick Waugh every night or
Not
Dominic
only that,
Hasek
but
every night.
I think people around here also, again,
We've
the
been
whole
spoiled.
mentality of just like, we have a good goalie, but he can't make a save at the right time. It happens everywhere. Henrik Lundqvist has played really bad in the first half of the season this year, and now in the past 15, 20 games, he's playing lights out again because it happens with goalies. They go through stretches all the time.
Goalies are weird.
Goalies are extremely weird.
Goalies are voodoo.
We are weird. We are very weird. I've spent, I want to say 15, 16 years playing goalie in the wonderful worldwide game of soccer, and I've learned throughout the years that oftentimes you're only as good as your defense, and when your defense can't clear your own zone, you're going to be busy a lot, and when you're going to be busy a lot, you're going to struggle at some points. You're going to face a top line who's going to put pressure on your defense, who's going to be exhausted, who's going to be chasing the puck for God knows how long, and you're going to end up giving up a goal at some point.
It goes back to my favorite saying. You show me a good head coach, and I'll show you a great goaltender.
Yep.
Exactly.
That is one of my...
Jack Adams is one on unsustainable goaltending.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about it is, I look at people focusing on Robin Lehner and Anders Nilsson, and this is the first full season Robin Lehner's had that he's been healthy, that he's been ready to go, and been in great shape. You know what? I want to see what he does the rest of the season towards a playoff push, which we can talk about here in just a few minutes. I want to see how he reacts there. What the Sabres, where the Sabres decide to build things around him, because at this point, I'm pretty damn sure, aside from a devastating injury, Robin Lehner is going to be the guy for the next couple of years at least. I mean, he's under contract. He's an RFA this year, so they're going to assign him to. He's going to be under contract. There's no doubt about that. They're not going to let him walk at this point. So we're going to get something for Robin Lehner in the offseason. But it's one of those things where he's the guy. He's going to be your guy, and if because I just can't see any other scenario where they go out and get somebody else or try to get someone else. You're living or dying by him, and I'm not mad about that. He's shown enough this season where it's going to be. TJ looks very thrilled with this. He didn't just roll his eyes; he rolled his whole body. I'm like, damn, he's really excited about this.
I had to crack some
You're okay.
stuff. Let me live my life.
TJ, you're okay. You're okay.
It's my house.
It is your
I'll
house.
Kick you all out.
Do what you want. We'll just drag the podcast out with the roofing guys who are throwing roofing pieces all over the place. But Lehner's the guy. Robin Lehner's the guy, and anyone else who thinks otherwise, I mean, if you can make a good argument, cool. But why, and I'm going to say this now, and I'm going to contradict myself later, but why eliminate a position of strength?
Yeah.
When you know it's a position of strength, why are you going to hurt yourself?
We're going to talk about trading Evander Kane later.
Shut up.
Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess Sammy. Okay, Sammy's good. So now we're back to the round table now. The first thing I do want to talk about, the hot topic of the discussion of the trade deadline discussion has been I don't know if I want to say the resurgence of Evander Kane or just the offensive maturation of Evander Kane, because we've seen his entire career. He's always said to be this great guy. He's hit 20 goals. How many times was it? Once, twice? I think he hit 30 goals once.
He hit 30 goals in Winnipeg, and then the past 2 seasons have been 20 goals.
20 goals in Buffalo. So he's consistent in Buffalo, but he's playing at a pace.
And the lockout year, he was on pace for 29 goals. I think I read the other day.
And isn't it this year he's on? Sorry, Andy. In a healthy year, he would be on pace for 50, isn't it? Wasn't that roughly around what he would be at?
That seems.
Yeah.
No, I think it was.
Well,
40,
he has
40 or
20.
50.
He has 20 and 35. He's 21 and 35. So
That'd be
maybe 40
and
something.
60. 40. That'd be 40 and 60.
Yeah, right.
He's on pace for a lot of goals. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, there's only been 150 goal scorer in the last 3 or 4 seasons, right? It was Ovechkin last year.
Yeah, and Ovechkin is on another
Well,
planet.
it's 2 or 3 years.
But that's the one thing. That's the one thing I want to ask you guys. I want to throw out some stuff that my personal thoughts, and then let you guys kind of just go at it. The one thing about Evander Kane we've seen in Buffalo, and even in Winnipeg too, but a lot in Buffalo because obviously we have eyes on him now all the time. He takes a lot of shots, a lot of bad shots, a lot of far shots. Just is often known as a guy who's really good at padding his Corsi stats. But the one thing this year that's been different about Kane is he's taking smarter shots. More likely, instead of shooting it direct into the chest, he's waiting and taking better shots. And when we see what's happening because of it, he's getting more goals. I want to know from you guys, is this something where we're seeing Kane become a different player, a smarter player, or is this something where it's an aberration, he's just having a fantastic year and you need to sell now? This is the point where I want to get everyone's take on buy or sell. Are you keeping Kane, sign him to a long-term deal either after this season or when he becomes a UFA, or are you going to deal Kane for that number one defenseman or a lesser forward and maybe maybe a second pairing defenseman and a halfway decent offensive player, or whatever it may be? Is this the time where you deal him in a position of strength, or do you wait and see if maybe he can do it again next year?
Yeah. So the thing that I'm really I just want to make this point real quick. Talking about how much Kane shoots, there's 2 constants with Evander Kane's career. One is that he shoots all the time, and 2 is that he's got some personal issues off the ice, right?
He's noted to not be a good person.
Yeah, he's not he just is not the greatest, I think, off the ice at this stage in his life. But I don't know if I want to comment too much on that. But I always used to joke that I wanted to make when Kane was first trying with the Sabres, I wanted to make a infographic for Evander Kane, and it would say, the infographic would say, "Is Evander Kane going to shoot? Does he have the puck? Yes, he's going to shoot. Does he not have the puck? No, when he gets the puck, he'll shoot." So, because that's really Evander Kane. But I mean, that this season it's paying off. He's ripping a crazy amount of shots and he's scoring goals. The thing that I'm really at odds with Evander Kane is just about sustainability. Can he keep this up? Because yes, he's shown that he can be a 20 goal scorer, and this team desperately needs goals. It's crazy how goal scoring has been the problem with really the Sabres all season, but or not all season, but the past few seasons, they've just been a low-scoring team. And now you finally have a guy who's shooting the lights out, and you're kind of faced with what do you do about it. So he's not a UFA until after next season. Our friend Alec pointed that out to me on Twitter when I was kind of talking about why we should trade Kane. It's at UGENELOGIA is Alec's Twitter handle. He's a good guy, but he kind of pointed out, well, you don't really have to make the decision until after next season. But the problem is you kind of do have to make the decision now, because what if he gets cold? That's really where I'm at with Evander Kane. Do you trade? I was for a while in the camp of trade him for a puck-moving defenseman, and thus your goal scoring as a team will go up. The whole team can score as opposed to just one guy. So I'm kind of still in that boat, but I'm not as steadfast about it as I used to be. Another great point that Russ and Alina brought up on Twitter was that we're going to get to the point where you can have Sam and Jack, and then the Sabres equivalent to Connor Sheary, or Brian Rust or whatever, like these guys that are just sort of, or Evan Rodriguez. Well, he's a center, but Justin Bailey or something. One of these guys, these randos from. Not randos, but one of these young guys from Rochester to just sort of come up and be a warm body that can stand and be open and then just put the puck in the empty net because Jack and Sam
took care of that business.
Basically, made the play, and then the other guy just cleans up, or whatever. Just someone that's fast enough to keep up. So, I guess at this point, I'm still kind of in the trade Evander Kane camp. I mean, I know people within the organization that say that he hasn't really changed that much off the ice. I don't want to say too much about it because it's just random conversations I've had with people that work for the team, but. He still doesn't really have a sterling reputation off the ice. If we're all expecting him to grow up and maybe now it's like this amazing redeeming story of Evander Kane grows up and scores a bunch of goals, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I think he's going to keep scoring a bunch of goals and then probably still be the same guy who likes to party off the ice. And I've been told to live above his means. He likes to buy nice cars and do things like that. And, the money phone, exactly. But not even, I don't even mind the money phone. I kind of think that I don't mind having a personality. It's when that personality is a detriment to your personal
when you're harming other people,
and the team itself. So it's just not healthy, right? But I guess I'm not really in a position to comment too much on that because it's all just little conversations that I've had with people here and there. But
no, but it's enough for you to draw. It's enough for you to draw your own person. And I think essentially what it is that it's less of he's changed and more of, and again, we don't want to talk too much on this because it's all speculation. But I think a lot of it for me is he hasn't changed. He's still a terrible guy off the ice.
Yeah.
They just essentially they're able to say, if you're going to be crappy, do it on your own. Don't go out and get in fights with people at bars and try to pick up women and just go be crappy in your hotel room or wherever you stay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done that before, but that was kind of a bad example. But you guys understand what I'm saying. They're keeping it off of.
They're trying to shelter him.
They're keeping it behind the scenes. They're keeping. If there's a problem, we're going to keep it off of Twitter, out of the news.
And Murray's gone to bat for him a bunch of times. So if he
kind of
keeps,
has to,
and if he has another issue, then I see Tim Murray. He's a pretty straightforward guy. I see Tim Murray just saying, you know what, dude, I've given you a bunch of chances. I've gone to bat for you in the media. I've talked about how you've changed and how you're getting better, and then you did whatever.
Yeah,
you got drunk and did something. I'm sorry, dude. You're out. I got to trade you.
And at the age of 25, you should know. You're an adult. You've been an adult for years at that point. You should know you need your own level of personal conduct that you need to execute wherever you are, whether you're at a bar or at a restaurant or at work. That would be a decent idea.
Just a bigger splitter next time.
I mean, like I said, at the age of 25, and you've got people taking hits for you. You've got your GM taking all these questions from local media and whoever else. Everyone knows you're a bit of a hothead, so when you go to a bar and people agitate you, you should know what they're should know what they're trying to get out of you.
Don't even go to the bar to begin with.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. But and then real quick, so just to put a cap on this whole thing, I'm still I think I've just convinced myself I'm still in the trade Evander Kane camp. Maybe it comes back to bite us in the butt and we don't score goals at all, or he grows up, he gets traded back home to Vancouver, and whatever, we get Ben Hutton or something coming back the other way, and he grows up and it's all good and everything's great, and then I eat crow and I'm sorry, but I would rather. I'm in the trade Evander
Talking
Kane
about
camp.
Back home in Vancouver, I remember a story, I think it was right after Evander Kane got traded to Buffalo. There's a story that came out, I can't remember if it's Sportsnet or whatever. It was a story just highlighting his past life. When he was growing up as a kid, he didn't have much. He was living in a bedroom with his sister. I mean, his life I think he grew up in Vancouver. His life in Vancouver was quite rough. He was, very humble beginnings. And then when he came up when he got good at hockey and when he got drafted and when he got this new contract, he's trying to do more for his family. It's just the good side of what Evander Kane does. He's giving back to his family. He's doing stuff for his parents, his sister. He's still doing stuff. I mean, I think the other day on Evander Kane's Instagram or something like that, he posted something with his sister and with his family. He's a very family oriented guy. But yes, he does like to go out. He likes to party and everything. If he can contain that a little bit, if he can find a way to I wouldn't say be better, I would say just find a way to just not, I don't know how the perfect way to phrase this, but I mean just not try to be such out there and get into trouble. Just Go out there and just be
more responsible with your own actions.
Exactly. Thank you, Sam. I know you're here for a reason.
And I know we're sitting here waxing poetic about telling professional athletes to act more adult, but when you have an athlete who has gotten himself into very serious trouble like Evander Kane has multiple times, it not only reflects on the people who employ him, but it reflects on the entire franchise as a whole. And I mean, I'm still, I'm kind of warming up to him as a player. I'll never warm up to him as a human being. Like, he's still to me as a terrible garbage person. But if he's going to go out and score, 20 or 30 goals, I'll be more than happy to donate some cash every time he scores a goal to a domestic violence shelter in Buffalo.
Which you're doing. That's your Hockey Bites TV this year, right?
To make it at least worth it, because I just can't, like, I don't know. I think I just value the person more than the player a lot, and it certainly helps, that he's been really good, because I've been, team trade him for a while. It helps that he's been better, but
I just want to say one more thing real quick. I just want to clear up.
Absolutely.
When I talk about stuff of hearing rumors within the organization, things like that, it's not Lauren Hall. I just want everyone to know. No, seriously, I don't want, because Lauren, I'm very vocal on Twitter about Lauren Hall being a very good friend of mine and everything. We don't talk inside Sabres at all.
No, it's a lot of.
But I just don't want this to come out and then be everyone maybe immediately assume Lauren Hall is telling Andy about stuff with this. No, I know because I work in the news. I know a fair amount of people that are connected with the team.
Exactly.
Lauren and I never talk inside Sabres. She's just a really good friend of mine, and
Sure.
why do I want to talk about work with someone, right? I don't want to go out and talk about Channel 4 all day with someone. She doesn't want to go out and talk about the Sabres all day. So I don't want that to be a connection that anyone would make.
No, you're okay. No, we all have, a lot of us have connections. We have a lot of people we talk to, and we just kind of bounce stuff off each other, and that's just how it works. And that's how we draw conclusions. Yeah. That's how rumors get started, because someone will say, here's the thing I think, and you'll say, well, here's how I feel, and TJ, welcome back.
Well, I'm just going to throw this out there that anything I think, say, or do is attributed to Brayton. Just before anything.
All
just
retweets
before anything.
Today on the podcast, everybody, all retweets are endorsements. That is correct. Everything we say is an endorsement.
Are you sending me a check in the mail?
Oh, no, I'm not paying you for anything. I'm just saying, if anything bad happens, it's Brayton's fault.
Oh,
and it's representative.
I've always blamed
representative of Brayton. I am representative of Brayton Wilson.
I'm just the scapegoat for most of our problems that we have here, work, whatever.
So, couple weeks ago, it was a week ago actually, we got into a long Twitter conversation about the pros and cons of trading Evander Kane. Yeah. And I went back through and found that conversation. Derek Jadamski,
he actually
great person. Like him a lot.
Grew up with his brother, went to school with him. Yeah,
cool. Very cool.
It's very weird how everything on Twitter is coming together.
I know. He's always been a solid follow on Twitter.
Everybody knows and loves Frank.
Yeah.
Kid's family member, pretty much.
That picture, the one picture of you and Frank have backyard wrestling or whatever is sorry, no one can hear me right now.
That's okay. Yeah. You're just.
We need to let TJ. Let's just everybody put the microphone down. Give TJ about 20 minutes just to go, because I feel like we haven't.
20 minutes. I don't know. I won't take that long. So, a few weeks ago, a week ago. I'm sorry. I keep saying this happened a long time ago. This is just a week ago. Derek tweeted out in this conversation with you, Alec, me. And Leah is. I'm sorry, you. I'm pointing to Ryan. My bad.
We don't have video casting yet.
Not yet. And Leah Voigt, who's also a good follow. Derek posted these heat maps. I'm pretty sure the house next to us.
Someone just fell off the roof, I think. Hold on.
Oh God. So I'm just gonna keep going. Ryan's gonna check on that, but he posted heat maps of where Evander Kane shoots from, and it seems that he gets a lot of shots from the front of the net and to his wing side. And actually, as his career progresses, you see his shot kind of go back and forth. But this year, his shots are coming from further out from the left side, though, but it's more from the top of the circle. So I don't know what to really make of that, other than he shoots from two main areas typically, and they're two areas where you want him to be shooting from. Yeah. So the Evander Kane, I wouldn't say high danger, but I mean, this is his graph from this year.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I remember last year there was
it was all over the place.
There was a Sportsnet thing that was pointing it out, where Evander Kane, as his career went on, his distance of a shot kept going further back and further back and further back. Where last year he was taking a multitude of shots from the blue line for no reason at all, other than to apparently put pucks on net and make his Corsi numbers look good. But
I think that's an opinion that's been developed over time that players are doing this to pad their stats and pad their Corsi numbers.
Well, at the end of the day,
I call bullshit on that. I don't think a player is thinking about that at all when
it's one of those things where we as fans watch it and go, why would you shoot a puck directly into the chest of the goaltender? But then at the end of the day, you can't score if you don't shoot.
Right. And
so
also,
I get both sides of it.
Also, if you shoot it directly into the chest of a goaltender, you have the possibility of the puck bouncing off onto somebody's stick.
Exactly.
You getting a rebound. I'm always a proponent of shooting the puck all the time. And that's one thing that I'm never going to get on Evander Kane about is where he shoots the puck from. Just shoot the puck. You know how there's always that guy in the arena, shoot guy? Shoot it! You never need to worry about Evander Kane when it comes to shooting. He's just going to do it, and that's fine. So
I can't wait to clip that.
To me, you can't have it both ways. You can't say they need to shoot more and then yell at a guy for shooting more. Right, exactly. It's you told me to do this, and now I'm doing it, and now you're mad at me for that. Like, I can't win.
We need to go to a game together and just sit in the 300 level and go, shoot it from directly in front of the net right there. No. Oh,
no, not there. Yeah, be very precise about it. But
piss a lot of people off.
So I think with Evander Kane, he's having a career year, and he's doing it all even strength. And which is impressive. And my thing with that is, I don't think you can justify trading your best even strength scorer. I don't think there's any trade unless it blows you away. Well, you're getting. This is the question. Even better than Cam Fowler.
This is the question
honestly.
I have for you, though, TJ.
Hampus Lindholm.
This is the question I have for you, and this is to everybody. We're kind of in an interesting situation this year because with the expansion draft coming up, there are teams that are going to want to make moves because Minnesota's not going to want to lose one of their good defensemen for nothing.
Sure.
Anaheim may not want to lose a good defenseman for nothing, although right now it looks like they can protect all of them, but something may change. They may want to do something different. Who knows? Do you think that may push an Evander Kane trade more just because Tim Murray may go out there and say, look, I normally wouldn't trade you because this is very stupid to trade a guy who's having a career year, but I can take a Kane and turn him into a player X, Y, or Z that will make my defense better, overall, therefore making my team better. Yes, losing Kane will cut a lot of goals down, but you can almost hope that you can because I don't want to say that
you're taking a small hit out of the offense to drastically improve the defense.
I don't want to say Justin Bailey's going to go score 20 goals or Nick Baptiste is going to score 20 goals, or they can go out and acquire a guy who can score 20 or 30 goals, because that's damn near impossible in the National Hockey League unless you make a very, very big trade, as we saw to get Evander Kane. But do you think that maybe they can say, like, this is a rare occasion, we have the ability to deal from a position of strength on both ends because we have the player, plus we also know that they're up against a wall and they want to trade a guy? Do you think that maybe that may facilitate more of a potential of a trade?
Maybe, but I mean, this obviously with the expansion draft this year, where it's a very specialized, that's really throwing a wrench into a lot of things and how we're thinking about a lot of trades.
Because any other day, I would flat out tell you there is absolutely, positively no way they trade Evander Kane, but because of the expansion draft, I mean, for me, it's because of the career year, because the shooting percentage is up, and because of the expansion draft.
Yeah,
everything else, there's no feasible reason why they would ever trade a guy like him.
I guess I see what you're saying, but at the same time, to me, I don't think the league has, as much as they try to not make this so, the league has always been about offense. It's about clutching and grabbing too. But if you have a player that can score, I think trading him for a player who's going to help you defensively isn't the best. It's not going to equate the same way. You're not going to get the same value out of a defenseman than a player who's scoring 20-something goals a year. At least not at the rate that Evander Kane is scoring. So I think just taking him, it's hard to say. It really is hard to say. But in my opinion, you can't trade a forward and then expect to retain this, I wouldn't say high-octane offense, but
it's an efficient offense.
It's an efficient offense. They don't equal each other in the end, though. Maybe, as Brayton said, for a Hampus Lindholm, I'm going back on that and saying maybe that's a thing.
Before we go over to Brayton really quick, I just want to kind of throw your idea in a nutshell. So essentially, what you're trying to say, confirm or deny, is that the addition by subtraction, getting a defenseman, unless it's like a Hampus Lindholm, removing Evander Kane out of the equation and then turning that into a defenseman will not help the Sabres as much as it will hurt the Sabres.
I think that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been preaching a Evander Kane for Hampus Lindholm type of trade for good 3 or 4 weeks now. I think that I wouldn't accept a trade for anything else similar to that, like 1-for-1, or even like if you have to.
It has to be a blowaway offer,
right?
It really
does. It has to be a guy that, holy crap, like you're asking for that guy, that type of trade. Yeah, that's the one that I would want to give. That I'd want to give up Evander Kane for, and that's the only way I'd want to give up Evander Kane.
Real quick, the one thing I want to point out too, because a lot of the stuff when everyone was mentioning the 1-for-1 deal, like you said, like a Kane for Lindholm deal, however crazy that possible or crazy or whatever that may be, a lot of people keep going back to the Taylor Hall for Adam Larson deal, and I don't think that we can use that deal as a guideline for really anything, because that was a very bad trade. And it will continue to be a bad trade.
I don't necessarily know if it's a bad trade yet or not, because Adam Larson has produced particularly well for Edmonton this year, playing in a role that he's playing.
But we've seen it in the past. I'm just judging based on
right in the past. But like
we've seen like when Sagan went to Dallas or stuff like that, where you trade a very talented offensive player for not so talented pieces, it's going to end up not being good. So I feel like that is an exception to that deal. If we're talking about a 1-for-1 with Evander Kane being part of it, we cannot use that deal as anything.
Yeah.
That's an exception to the rule.
That's
what I'm trying to point
trade.
out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I agree. But I mean, like, and that's the hard thing about trading a guy like Evander Kane. He's so talented, and the way that he's playing right now, he's playing extremely well. He's scoring goals. He's skating well. He seems 100% healthy, and we know what kind of player he is. He's going to give 110% of his game, 100% of the games.
But which franchise is going to be willing to deal with that PR nightmare?
Right. It could be a PR nightmare.
If it comes up.
Yeah, if it comes up. He may go somewhere else. Like, let's say he gets traded to Anaheim, and he may be a saint there. He may be one of the nicest guys, may be a really good community person, and then everything will work out in the end. But, I mean, we can't sell ourselves short with trying to deal with Evander Kane. And I can understand why Tim Murray maybe isn't getting a lot of calls, because he's trying to sell high, and that's fine.
I heard he's getting a ton of calls.
There's been a couple of people. Darren Dreger and Frank Saravalli said yesterday that he may be surprised at the lack of calls that he's getting.
I know he's getting.
Frank Cervelli said that he heard that Tim Murray's phone was ringing off the hook.
I know he's getting a ton of calls for Kulikov ever since the Haynes deal went down, but I haven't seen much about.
Right? Yeah.
The one thing, sorry, Brayton. The one thing I want to point out, because I'm kind of trying to be the yin to the yang here.
Yeah, absolutely.
A 1-for-1 would almost work with Anaheim, because Kane's making his cap hits 5.25, and then for Anaheim. A guy, it would almost have to be a guy like Lindholm, not just because of the level of talent, but because Anaheim has no cap room.
Right.
So they're paying Lindholm 5.7 or 5.71 this year, 5.21 the rest of the deal. So they could make that work out, at least this year.
I think the problem with that trade is Hampus Lindholm has so much term left on his deal that the deal doesn't make sense. Kane has a year left on his deal, and Hampus Lindholm signed a 6-year deal.
And I think that's why
I think in that case you're not getting a 1-for-1 trade that you want.
You might have to throw in.
You'd have to throw in another piece or two in order to get
Pixar.
Lindholm. But the thing about Evander Kane is, though, that Anaheim doesn't have scoring. Evander Kane can put the puck in the net. In Anaheim, they've had problems lately with scoring goals. Corey Perry, yeah, sure, he can score goals, but as of late, he's no player that he was years ago when he was. I think he was. Didn't he win the MVP?
Yep.
A few years ago, yeah.
50 goals, 47 assists.
Yeah,
I think
he was incredible. He was scoring goals like left and right. Whereas Evander Kane, he can put the puck in the net, and Corey Perry lately hasn't been able to. Nobody has been able to. I mean, it's the same thing kind of like in Montreal right now. Montreal, they've been saying like, well, we need to trade for a guy like Matt Duchene who could score, because Montreal can't score lately. So, like, teams that have problems scoring would like to look at a guy like Evander Kane and say, look at what he's doing in Buffalo on a team that, is up and coming, but, they're still not there yet. Evander Kane, if we can get him for the rest of this year, make a playoff run, and then maybe next year, and then see if we can get him signed for the long term, that might be an option.
That's one thing our friend Joe Yurden pointed out. He said, cut the Kane trade talk out now, pick it up next year.
Pick it up during the offseason.
Or offseason or even in next season.
Right, and I think that's...
Because even if you're in this point next year, we might even be at the point next year with Buffalo where they are borderline a playoff team, but if they can go out and trade Kane and do the addition by subtraction move, that may be something. But
what if
now it doesn't make sense.
What if we get to the deadline next year and Kane's got 10 goals?
That's the other
and
thing.
Here's the thing. His value right now is probably the highest it is ever going to be.
That's what I'm saying.
This offseason, sure, you could try and make a hockey deal or whatever like Tim Murray likes to do, but even then, I think his value is probably going to go down. Murray might get the best return for a Kane trade right now or right at the deadline this year instead of the offseason or next year, because it's a whole new season next year and everybody's going to say, well, can he put up the same production?
Yep.
Whereas if he's traded this year, you know what you're going to get out of Evander Kane now and for probably the rest of the season as long as he stays healthy.
Real quick, Sammy, before you go, I just looked up that tweet from GR, the Frank Saravelli tweet. I saw it in passing and completely misread it. It says it's not ringing off the hook. The phone's not. I just saw it and I was like, oh my God, his phone's ringing off the hook. Yeah, my bad.
It's fine. No, it's and I think Tim Murray has been a little, and I think it is a little upsetting that Tim Murray hasn't gotten more calls on Evander Kane, because then that's likely going to create a situation for us next year where it's just like, okay, do we protect Evander Kane knowing we'd have to re-sign him, or maybe they might think, well, we can protect someone else, expose Kane. If he gets picked up by Las Vegas, then so be it. But I mean, I think at this point, Tim Murray wants to try and get anything he can out of Evander Kane before moving on from him, or maybe they can't even re-sign him in the offseason. Who knows? But I mean, right now is the best chance you're going to get the maximum value out of Evander Kane in a trade. Because if they don't do it now, then you're going to be looking back like a who's the owner of the Sacramento Kings who said we had a better deal for DeMarcus Cousins? Yeah, Vlade Divac, who had a better deal for DeMarcus Cousins 2 days before he made the deal, and he's just like, well, we had a better deal, didn't take it, so this was the best deal I got, and now I'm kicking myself. Or it's just like we don't want to be a Vlade Divac right now. We want to be happy about a deal that we make.
And I promise, Sammy, I'm going to give you the microphone after this. We keep cutting Sammy off, but the one thing I want to point out, two things I want to point out. First off, don't forget, after next season, you're not only paying Kane, you're paying Eichel and Reinhart as well.
Yeah, because they're RFAs and they need new deals.
So that might be another reason to deal. Because I mean, if you're still stuck with Matt Molson, you've got Matt Molson another year.
I think there's a bottom line here, people, and this has been a building discussion for the past week now. Do you keep Kane, who can score goals and who can put the puck in the net and play really well with Eichel, or do you trade a guy like Sam Reinhart, who's really smart, doesn't skate as well or put pucks in the net like Evander Kane, but he still plays well with Eichel? You got to find something here, and I'd love to keep both guys, but I mean, in the end, you might not be able to, and that's why this topic has been.
You'll have to get cheaper. Up. You'll have to get cheaper on defense because you're paying 7.5 for O'Reilly. You're paying 6 for Oposo. You're paying 5 for Molson. I mean, you're still paying Ennis 4.6, which I don't even know if he's going to be around. I mean, it's you've got Foligno's going to be an RFA soon. You've got Gergensons, Larson RFA soon. So it's they're still building, but they're getting to the point where they have to start making decisions and trying to okay, well, we have to move this guy to get cheaper here or get younger here.
And here's another thing with buying out, with contracts and buying out the contracts. Even Matt Molson, if you try and buy out his contract next year with 2 years left on his, he'll have 1 year after next year on his deal. So even if you buy him out, it's still going to cost you, I think, over $1 million per season on the cap. Whereas next year you can buy out Josh Georges and it'll be $800,000, a little over $800,000. So we made it. So you want to buy out Matt Molson. Everybody says, well, let's buy him out, or let's just throw him in Rochester. I mean, it's still going to cost you on the cap, but I mean, it'll be cheaper to buy out a guy like Josh Georges, who's terrible. Anywhere you put him on the ice, he's terrible. And then a guy like Matt Molson, where it's Matt Molson, yeah, I mean, next year, are you going to try and throw him down in Rochester? I can't see it, but there's a chance. Nick Deslauriers is going to go to Rochester next year. I mean, he's here specifically for the expansion draft. He's already here. He's already against,
I don't think that Vegas is going to claim Matt Molson if he's available.
I doubt it.
It would be very nice, but that's the thing that's always bummed me out since they picked a GM. They didn't pick a stupid GM.
Here's one
So it's
one
very
more
difficult
thing.
to make that happen.
One more thing I'll throw out here for the expansion draft. There are going to be these type of deals. Whether not at this deadline because they're not going to be in this deadline, but during the off season, right before everything, there's going to be little deals that George McPhee and other GMs of other teams are going to talk about. Where it's just like, all right, well, we'll trade you this guy, or we'll let this guy go to free agency so you can sign him before anybody else can, just as long as you don't take this specific player in the expansion draft, because we really want to keep this guy, but we have to expose him because we have to protect other people. And that's what's going to happen, these little things. So that could be another instance.
Isn't collusion really cool?
Yeah, it's really cool. It is great.
All right, so hopefully this is, maybe or maybe not. This is the last time we'll talk about the Kane trade, and whether it's to Anaheim or whoever. But I am going to focus on Anaheim here because they may see a little extra value with this trade with Evander Kane, or involving Evander Kane, because they're struggling to score, but they have 32 wins, so they know how to win games. If you throw Kane in there, you're going to put in a guy who's, putting goals in, or putting pucks in nets like nobody's business. Having that, and not to mention having it 5-on-5 deep into the playoff run, that's going to help Anaheim a lot, and they may see that as a little extra value towards.
And that's one thing
making
we
it to the
haven't
conference
mentioned this
final.
entire time, and Sam mentioned it as he's the last one to talk in this entire roundtable. Kane is a really good player of 5-on-5. He scores most of his goals 5-on-5.
Brayton
I think he has
doesn't
2 or
listen to
3 power
TJ.
play goals.
Oh, did you say that?
He did mention
I
that.
apologize. I must have been.
Brayton tones you out. It's okay. It's okay.
No, we know he's all.
Well,
all
he's
but
the
one-
one.
tone me
he's
out
the one
too,
blaming me for everything.
It is his house. I feel like we don't have enough time to talk about everything we want to talk about because we just kind of go off. We need to do this more.
I have one more thing that I just kind of want to go over is the Sabres' place in the standings right now and what we might see from them over the trade deadline. Is that cool?
Yeah,
Can we get to that?
Yeah, what I was going to do here is I was just going to kind of ask everybody kind of closing thoughts, and I want to see what everyone thinks. We've talked about the big ticket, but what does everybody want to see happen on March 1st? Like if we could fast forward past the deadline, what are some things that you would be pleased? Like say, yeah, okay, Tim Murray's talking to the media. It's all done. It's all said and done. The trades are over. Sabres have made a couple moves. What do you want to see happen? What would you be happy with?
I think it'd be cool. I guess if we're gonna move on from Cody Franzen, which I think we're probably gonna, I would like to get something for him, like a third or something like that. Kind of
Bag of pucks, maybe.
yeah, something. Just kind of, I wouldn't mind this being like if you don't make the big Evander Kane deal, I'm not gonna be upset because that's not the kind of deal you want to make just to make. Like you pull the trigger on something we've talked about, I think a bunch of times already today, getting proper value. So just because I'm in the pro trade Evander Kane camp doesn't mean I need there to be a deal done. I would love to see us just sort of, get something for pending UFAs.
Here's something I did want to ask that I totally forgot, and I want to get everyone's quick reaction. We can just go around quick. Brian Giunta, UFA, set to play his 1,000th NHL game this season with the Sabres if he stays in Buffalo. He has there were rumors in 30 Thoughts, Elliot Friedman's 30 Thoughts, that he had requested Tim Murray not deal him. He wants to stay in Buffalo, whether that is because he doesn't want to be traded to another city because of his family, or he wants to finish his career here this year, or whatever it may be. He doesn't want to go. They asked him about it. He confirmed. He said, yeah, I don't want to go anywhere, but the Sabres can still deal him. Is that something you guys would be interested in, or is that something where you say, you know what, he wants to stay, we're going to keep him? So essentially, it's one of those addition subtraction things. Do you think the value you could get for Giunta would be worth passing that over to keep him to kind of show essentially how Tim Murray trades players to places they want to go to?
Yeah.
At the deadline, maybe saying, okay, this guy requested to stay. We're still trying to kind of win players over. Maybe this kind of shows some dedication to a player by not getting rid of him.
Yeah. I would keep Brian Giunta. I'm cool. And especially you look at Robin Lehner's comments before the 3-game winning streak when he was like, no one's won anything besides Brian, and everyone here is there's this attitude. I think it's anyone that you can keep around to keep the chemistry good and to keep these guys learning the right way. I'm cool with keeping, especially because I don't know what you get for Brian Giunta. I mean, if you get a first for him, then yeah, maybe. But other than that, like
that's the Paul. That's like the
Gaustad magic.
The Hall and Larson trade is like the
Yeah.
Gaustad trade.
Exactly. So I kind of would just like to see the team sort of. I don't really care about making the playoffs this year, honestly. I know that sounds stupid, but
Get out.
I think it would be cool if they did. I think for the city of Buffalo, it'd be amazing because everyone is so like you could make you could turn a lot of coal into a lot of diamonds right now. I'll just put it that way among Buffalo sports fans. But like I never thought this was a playoff team this season, especially if you look at the back end. I know if you have Eichel for the whole season, maybe that's he's worth a playoff spot potentially, or we get a playoff spot potentially, but I don't really care so much about like making the playoffs this year, so I don't want to like hold on to a Cody Franzen just because we're going to try to make a playoff push and then get wrecked in the first round, just get dusted by some team in the first round. I would rather like keep building towards the future and try to get some kind of depth because everyone complains about a lot of people complain about our organizational depth right now. So you got to pick one. Either you want to make a run this year and you like hold on to guys to try to make a run, or you like stock up at the deadline and get organizational depth again. But I don't really think that I don't know if you can have one without the other.
It's one of those things where do you want to go out and make a gigantic move like how Boston was rumored to go for Gabriel Landeskog? Do you want to go out and get Landeskog and trade? Well, just for just saying like from Boston's point of view.
Yeah.
Do you go out and trade your future essentially for a guy now to try to win a cup now, or do you want to continue to develop so you have a playoff window, not just a shot at a cup one time?
Yeah,
I think that's where we're at with the Sabres, where they're not a playoff team yet, but if they go out and continues to roll with okay, we're not going to make any big trades, we're not going to make any little trades, we're going to keep everyone we have, we're going to stay status quo. You're trying to aim a little too tight, and you want to kind of got to broaden the window open a little.
I guess the question I would just ask is then why did we tank? Like if we're just going to try to go for it, why did we tank? Like why did they tank? I don't like to be a wee guy. Why did the team tank? Like the whole point of the tank was to build like a dynasty, right? Yeah. So now it's like
everybody wants to be the Red Wings.
Just like clear out the cupboard and then like try to make a run.
I mean, look at Chicago. They were blacked out in their own city on TV for years.
That's not because they were bad. That's because they had a shit owner. Let's clear that up.
We don't have a dump button here, TJ.
They weren't. We don't need one. This isn't the FCC. But let's make one thing clear. You're not there yet.
So bad though. Still.
They were bad,
terrible,
but
yes.
Rocky Wirtz was a terrible owner who squeezed the every last penny he could get out of their fans because he was a piece of garbage.
You can just say shit.
I just wanted, you know what? I got yelled at it for already. Okay, well, so let's. I just want to quell that notion that it was because the Blackhawks were bad. No, it was because their owner just didn't feel like doing it.
They were bad.
Yeah,
if they were good, maybe, but even if they were good, like even in the '90s, they weren't showing the games on TV. Yeah. That's the face I'm looking for.
But
yeah.
Regardless, even without Sammy's point about them getting blacking out on, you're right, TJ. But like, there still speaks to a
They were
greater
still
point where the
terrible.
Hawks were a garbage organization on the ice too.
Oh, that's for sure. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that.
So again, back to my original point, so we can kind of get back on track here.
Sure.
Do you want to be the Bruins?
Yeah.
Where they won a cup and they nailed it in the window that they had. Or do you want to be a Chicago, a Los Angeles, or a Detroit, where every single year, even when Chicago has a down year, they're still damn good. Los Angeles lost their goaltender. They're still pretty damn good. Detroit went to the playoffs for 20-plus years. I mean, this year, no way. But it finally caught up to them. That's a thing. You can kind of see with Detroit. Detroit is the perfect example of both situations. When do you sit pat and go with what you got and try to make a run, or when do you try to make a big deal to turn things around? And they should have made deals years ago to blow it up, but they said, no, we're just going to keep making the playoffs. So again, you look at like what Detroit's done. I think you want to kind of continue to get the pieces to the puzzle, figure out who fits where, who does what, and continue to make it so the organizational depth is stock. So they're stocked. So the team on the ice in the NHL is damn good. So if a guy gets hurt, you're not bringing up Cal O'Reilly. No offense to him, but he's not.
He's an AHL player.
You're not bringing up a 4A player essentially. Too good for the AHL, not good enough for the NHL. You don't want that. You want guys like Bailey, Baptiste coming up where they can fit in and come in and play well. and be a vital piece to the team.
And
So-
just imagine what's going to happen to Boston if they decide to try and make this trade for Gabriel Landeskog or do something like that, and they still miss the playoffs. They've missed the playoffs for the past 2 years. They've fired their GM. They fired their head coach. Guess what? They're going to fire their GM again. They're likely going to fire their president. This team's going to be terrible.
you just don't want to. You just again,
And
we're
it's
trying
going to cost them a Charlie McAvoy. And they're going to be in the exact same situation that
Right.
they're literally in right now, where they're like, oh, well, we have Brandon Carlo and Charlie McAvoy and all these like promising defense that they've been waiting to have for years, and then they're going to blow it all up again.
And
I
again,
think
this is the
Charlie McAvoy is
perspective.
going to be a better defenseman than Brandon Carlo's ever going to.
This is the perspective I want you guys to keep. Is that like? I mean, obviously we all have it because I know we're hot take artists in our own right, but we have logic. So we understand that, yes, it'd be great to go out and trade for the best player available and go sign the best player available in free agency. But again, you have to, and I'm gonna give you the Tim Murray version of it. You got to trust the process. You have to trust
Process.
it. You got to let it. You got to let it happen, because if you try to rush it, you're going to hurt yourself in the long run.
I think with the Bruins, they had a window open for from when they won their cup. They were back in the finals 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah, against
So
the Blackhawks in the lockout year.
They had a little bit of a larger window than I think we're giving them credit for.
But it wasn't like Chicago or Los Angeles. But then again,
And
I
I think hoping
exceptions to
for
the rule.
Chicago or Los Angeles is lofty.
Yeah,
It's
it might be an exception to
obviously
the
that's
rule.
the best case scenario. Best case scenario. But
So what would you think if we kind of just to wrap that idea up? What would be the worst case scenario? Like a team that we've seen.
the Carolina Hurricanes,
Okay,
2006.
that's fair. I could go with that.
Yeah.
Pre-McDavid Edmonton.
Exactly.
Where they won the cup, where they got lucky, won the cup. They had the talent in place, but they didn't build enough around it to continue it long term. So it kind of just fell apart.
Right.
I got you. Okay.
That's how
Exactly.
both teams ended up being.
Yeah, right.
Oh, dear.
Edmonton traded Chris Pronger, and then that was it for them. It was over.
Okay. So yeah, I get so
So I just just to set that record straight. But
Thank
to go on, we're in year. I have trouble charting the Sabres.
I think the first we
Path.
can just go with the Reinhardt tank being the first.
Okay, so
actual tank
this
here.
is year 4. Then we'll say,
Yeah.
sure. So year 4, you're kind of on the bubble now. I wrote all these standings down like a Neanderthal.
the guy with a smartphone in
That's
front of
right,
him.
exactly. Took it all down.
Well, here's
Now
the thing.
I
While
have
you're
it on a
looking
piece
for
of
that,
paper.
I want to
I
mention.
have it. I have
okay,
it
then
right
you go.
here.
Then you go. Sorry.
Okay, so the Sabres are sitting 6 points out. Generally 60 games played, with except for Boston, who has 61, Ottawa, who has 59, but they're 6 points out of a wild card spot, and they're 6 points out of a spot in the division. So they're like kind of on the bubble, but they need help over the next 20 games. And I think what you'll see, the Sabres have 3 games before the trade deadline on Wednesday. They're playing the Avalanche tonight, which is Saturday. They're playing the Coyotes tomorrow.
Sabres
Sunday.
after dark weekend.
I know.
Let's get loud.
And they're
man.
playing the Predators on Tuesday. So I think after these next 3 nights, we're going to have a much clearer picture of what they're going to do. And in my opinion, if they're within a point, I say
They stand pat, likely.
they stand pat. I don't think they should be going and trading the farm for anybody. But if they decided to not trade anybody at all, I could see that going okay. Like, to me, this year they have picks. I went through this yesterday. They have a first-round pick. They have 2 seconds, 2 thirds, a fourth, no fifth, sixth, and a seventh. Oh, they have a sixth and a seventh. So, Rain Men here.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. This is great. The dynamic between you guys is just perfect.
So to me, the Sabres have currency, if you want to put it that way. They have the pieces, they have ways to put the pieces in place to where if they did nothing at the trade deadline, I'd be totally okay with it. If they thought that with this roster, they could go for an 8th place spot. Because with this draft, I don't think there's much more you can get anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But what's the point? What's the point?
of
well,
what?
at some
If
point,
they trip their way into the playoffs, what's the point?
For fun.
well, you got to remember though.
Not only that, but you're not really changing.
You're not changing any-
horribly next year.
Exactly. You're not changing any sort
not
of
going through a
organizational
terrible
landscape.
turnover.
Brayton,
You're
how
not
many-
You're not changing any sort of organizational landscape by doing nothing.
how many points did the Sabres have last year? I forget.
They had 82.
Okay, so
Yes, you are, because you're going to let you're gonna let
Yeah, they were appointed game.
You're gonna let like
not
Cody and you're gonna not get assets for guys that you could have.
Okay,
So let me
but what
just-
assets are you going to get? You're going to get a third-round pick and a
here's-
second-round pick and a
here's-
bad draft?
Let me just.
which you can package in a deal at in the off season, or you know what I mean.
But that's one
Yes.
thing. That's one
But
thing. I
you
mean,
can take what you have already and package that.
and maybe this is me cherry picking too much. But Tim Murray has always said he's willing to be the guy who will take pieces and make a bigger deal. He's done it with Kane. He's done it with O'Reilly. But when else has he done it? So yeah, they can go out and we can see the Sabres go out and get picks in middle of the road prospects or even better prospects. But I don't think they're in a place where they could go out and say, yeah, you know what, we traded Cody Franzen or we traded Dmitry Kulikov and we turned him into a second or whatever. We're going to turn that second into a player or something of whatever it may be. It's still, I'm not sure if the Sabres are still in the cupboard stocking phase, but I'm all for trading the expiring contracts. I'm for trading Franzen. I'm for trading Kulikov because again, if you're not going to, I mean, I'm looking at Sports Club stats right now, and the math is, it is what it is. But for the Sabres to have better than a 50% chance of making the playoffs, they would need to go 14-5-3. That's to have a 62.5% chance to make the playoffs. That's 93 points. Now, I remember Brayton, we talked about earlier in the season in our Previewcast, I can't remember exactly what it was, but if I'm not mistaken, I said if the team doesn't hit 90 points, the season was an abstract failure. They are on pace to hit 90 points. I mean, if they go
dead on 90.
Well, they're 13-7-2 in the last 22 games. That should be doable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I think I said 95 points, that would be borderline playoffs. And I think that I said that if they hit 95, that's a successful year. Anything less would be not necessarily a disaster or a
just
failure. It would just be like it wasn't
not good.
exactly what we expected. So let's just run through real quick.
Sure.
Like to Andy's point, let's run through real quick who's going to be a free agent and everything like that during the offseason. Your UFAs include Brian Giunta, Cody McCormick, who's not even playing
McCormick's
anymore,
retired.
Dmitry Kulikov, and Cody Franzen, and then Anders Nilsson's a UFA.
Which I think with Nilsson, I can't remember. Is Ullmark available for the expansion? Is he part?
All three of them would be Linus Ullmark, Robin Leonard, and Anders Nilsson will all be exposed for the draft. Linus Ullmark's going to be an RFA though.
Okay. So do they have to sign somebody before the end of the season or re-sign someone before the end of the season?
I think all three would be. I think all three are eligible to be exposed. I'm not entirely sure about that.
I just kind of went derp there for a second. Sorry.
I know the whole expansion draft rules are kind of. I know it is confusing. Like there's no perfect way to explain it, but like going down through the prospects now, you got Cal O'Reilly, Derek Grant, Cole Schneider, Taylor Fedun, and Eric Bergdorfer who are going to be UFAs. RFAs include Marcus Foligno, Zemgus Girgensons, Johan Larsson, Evan Rodriguez, Robin Leonard. You've got Linus Ullmark, Jean Dupuis, Justin Kia, and Brady Austin, and Dan Catanacci.
I can't remember who tweeted it, but remember Jean Dupuis. Someone tweeted that out last year. I can't remember.
So I mean,
that's all I could think about.
You're looking at prospects. You're looking at the NHL depth right now. I mean, Giunta, maybe you re-sign him to another year or two just because he wants to be here, or he just decides to retire.
The one thing that they pointed out, too, that Andy mentioned about keeping Giunta, keeping kind of the leadership core together.
Exactly.
The one thing that they were talking about a lot when Leonard spoke up was you can't bring in leadership. You need, with this young team, you need leadership to develop from within. Mm-hmm. So if you bring Giunta back for another year and he plays third-line minutes,
fourth line
I'm cool with that because
fine.
You're going to have another year of Eichel being a leader, another year of Reinhart being a leader, another year of O'Reilly being a leader, and
right.
You still have maybe you still have Matt Molson.
And Giunta kills penalties too.
Giunta kills penalties.
Yes, exactly.
So it's they're making progress towards that point where when Gianta's done in Buffalo, even if it is after this year, they're developing their own leadership, and that's huge with this team because we see there's been kind of almost a mutiny lately with Dan Bylsma and the players, and you don't want that to happen because if Bylsma loses the players, I mean that's really that because you're not going out and trading half the team away.
Right. And I mean, I'm looking at this roster currently right now, and it's just like, there's some guys that aren't going to be back next year. I mean, Cody Franzen's probably not going to be back. We don't know about Dmitry Kulikov. Anders Nilsson, probably not. I'd guess that Nilsson moves on, wants to try and be more of a prominent goalie somewhere else, like Chad Johnson going to Calgary. He thought he'd have a chance in Calgary. It's his hometown. He might go, and he's been playing games there.
So do you trade him?
Nilsson, I wouldn't at this point, no, because you're jeopardizing the AHL franchise because Rochester has been horrible without Linus Ullmark this year. If you take Linus Ullmark off of that roster, they might not win 10 games, maybe 5 or 6 games.
And the one thing I want to point out, too, just talking about the prospects and the depth, the goaltender that would start, or if I'm not, Jason Kasdorf, is down in the ECHL.
He's down in the ECHL, and he has been...
Elmira, at the last check, had played 51 games. They have won 9 games in those 51 games.
Yeah, Jason Kasdorf has not been what we all thought he was going to be.
Really
Well, he was
bad.
a throw-in in that trade.
Right, he was a throw-in.
What did we really think Jason Kasdorf
Right, I know.
was gonna be?
Like, I don't think he was ever going to be anything AH or NHL, and you would think though he would be a reliable AHL goaltender, and that hasn't really developed.
The only thing
That's why Cal Peterson this offseason is going to be very important, because if he does not sign here and goes to free agency like Jimmy Vesey did, except he can be a free agent on July 1st and not have to wait till August. If Cal Peterson does that, then we better all be crossing our fingers, because Cal Peterson likely next year is going to start a lot of games in the AHL. Because I can imagine that they'll probably give a Linus Ullmark a tender, an RFA tender, and he'll probably sign if he wants to be here. And he'll probably back up with Robin Leonard being the starter next year long term. And then Cal Peterson can play a ton of games in the AHL next year, like he's been doing.
And he's a
past
workload
3
goalie
years.
too, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he a workload goalie where he
started
takes a bunch of
80
shots?
plus consecutive games.
Yeah.
He faces a ton of shots, and he's up to the test every single game.
The one thing I want to point out about Jason Kasdorf, our buddy Joe Yearden points out, RPI guy.
RPI, yeah.
That's the only thing I know about him. He's an RPI guy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
it. I'm just going to go back to shutting up. I'm just going to go back to shutting up now.
But with Cal Peterson, though, I think it would make it more enticing for him to sign a deal with Buffalo next year, with the thought of, okay, and I'm sure Tim Murray's going to talk to him. I'm sure Tim Murray has a plan, and he's going to say, look, next year, you may get some AHL action. You may get a call-up, like let's say there's an injury or an illness. You might get called up to the AHL level. But next year, you're likely going to be the starter and start a good majority of the games down in the AHL, because we want to have Linus Ullmark back up now. We think that he's progressed to the point where he's going to be a backup in the NHL next year, and maybe he'll be the backup for the next 2 years in the NHL while, Cal develops in the AHL, develops his professional game. Because, I mean, we all see these transitions with AHL to NHL, OHL to NHL, anything in the CHL, or even like Europe to the NHL. I mean, Linus Ullmark was an MVP goalie in Sweden when he was playing over there, comes over here after surgery and plays relatively well in his first year, and he's the only thing keeping Rochester afloat this season. So I think next year, Linus Ullmark's definitely going to get that chance to be the full-time backup behind Rob Leonard here in Buffalo. And then if Cal Peterson signs here, which we all hope he does, I mean, we all want to say, yeah, sure, he's there's a good chance he's going to sign here, but nothing. But I mean, look at Jimmy Vesey. During the season last year, he said, yeah, we're going to come to Nashville, we're going to sign in Nashville, and we'll join the team for the playoff run. He didn't do that. He took his word back and decided, I'm going to go to free agency, see what happens. Then he signs with the Rangers. I mean, you never want to be so sure
Anything's
of
possible with NCAA,
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, Cal Peterson just. And go. I think this is going back to the AHL point and everything like that. This team is, they've got pieces, and the thing is that we've still got pieces in other leagues besides the AHL and the NHL. We've got college.
The
kids.
future's still the future's guys. The future.
Right.
That's the problem about the Sabres, and I know we've gone on a complete crazy tangent here.
Yes.
But the problem with the Sabres is that because of the ineffectiveness of Darcy Regier in his final years as the Sabres GM, there's a lot of guys he's drafted that have come up that have played in the NHL, been very good. Guys that he's drafted that still play with the Sabres now. But there was a disconnect for a while where everything that came in was trash. Or just stopped developing and wasn't good. So the Sabres are in that process now of taking, there are a lot of guys in Rochester who are AHL veterans or they'll never play in the NHL, but that's what they have to do because they have nothing else. So it's coming to the point where you're going to start seeing guys come over from Europe or come out of college, and the pipeline's going to get full really quick, and it's going to be a lot better, a lot sooner. Where it's going to be, hey, we're not. We have, like I said before, you have to call up a Cal O'Reilly because a guy gets hurt, or Derek Grant because a guy gets hurt. You can go and say, hey, we've got a young scorer in Rochester who's playing his ass off, and player XYZ got hurt, and we need a guy for the first or second line, and bring this guy up. It's not going to have to
Cliff
be
Poo.
Maybe. And I hope he wears 69.
He was pick number 69. That's
Nice.
I would buy a Poo 69.
You want to know who
jersey
was?
all day,
You want to
every
know
day.
who was also the 69th pick in the NHL draft? Nick Baptiste was the 69th
Hey-o.
pick in 2013.
Very nice.
And now he's starting to prove that, hey, there might be an NHL future for this kid.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And really, and like that's another thing. Nick Baptiste, though, like I would love to see him in the NHL the rest of the year. But like, again, if Rochester lost Baptiste,
he can
too,
fly.
Yeah.
Oh
hey,
man.
Hey, Brayton. So
Yes.
put a cap on it. What are we doing at the deadline?
I'm almost confident we're going to stand put. I'm really thinking that it's going to be almost a dormant trade deadline for the Sabres. Maybe if they lose these next 3 games, like even if they lose the next 2 games to a team like Arizona and Colorado, then maybe we make some more moves. But I mean, if everything goes well, like the Sabres win these next 2 games, and even if they get a loser point or they lose to Nashville, I think going into the deadline, you may see a guy like Cody Franzen get traded. You might see a guy like, I don't know, maybe Brian Giunta, depending on how that all goes and everything like that. But I mean, really, I think Tim Murray, especially with the defense right now, if you're going to trade a defenseman, you might want to have a defenseman come back in return. Like if you're trading Kulikov, you might want to either get a prospect defenseman in return, or because you go to Rochester, you're going to bring up Taylor Fedun. But after Taylor Fedun, that is it. The Rochester depth is lacking horribly.
I want to see Eric Bergdorfer so I can stab myself in the
Eric
face.
Bergdorfer is like, he had a Josh Georges night the other night against Utica in Buffalo. He couldn't skate. He was just behind everybody. He was slow. He was terrible on Wednesday night. Like I was just like, it almost made watching Bergdorfer play on the ice against Utica almost made me want to bang my head against the freaking desk because he was that bad.
What's the word on Casey Nelson? Because I remember watching during preseason, and he looked a little slow and behind on the play. He didn't look ready.
I think when he came up last year, he was kind of like riding on this little high. He had a boost of confidence because he just signed a contract, and they were saying, you're going to play in the NHL right away. And I think Casey Nelson took that, wrote it real well. But this year we've seen
He
a
came
little
back
bit
down to earth a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think he's physically up at the NHL level. He's got it. I mean, from all indications, his mental game is similar to Mark Pezic. Like, he thinks the game in a similar way that Mark Pezic did. And he skates pretty well. He's just not physically strong enough, and I think he's still adjusting to the professional game coming over from college. I mean, again, coming off of just signing a contract and, oh, hey, I'm going to play in the NHL for like 7 games, that's awesome. And then going into a full season, it's just like you want to play that same way, but things change. And I mean, I think Casey Nelson still has a lot of adjusting to do.
Now, Sam, what do you think the Sabres are going to do at the deadline? What do you want to see?
That's really hard because
How much time do you have? I'm kidding. Well, I've always wanted to see them trade every single player in the franchise. No one's ever done that before. That'd be really cool.
I want to see how many first-round picks that Jack Eichel can get me.
I think I've always wanted to see is just a team trade its entire system to another team for their entire system and just see what happens.
TJ, you just had that, like, the way that you were holding the mic and you were talking and, like, moving your body. You looked like you were a comedian at, like, the Helium Club or something like that, trying to give some...
One of these days I'm going to do an open mic and, like, try to be funny, and it's going to go horribly.
You just got to be yourself. You just got to talk about whatever...
Oh, I got to be myself? Well, I hate everything, and this is terrible, and why am I even here right now? I hate myself.
What are the Sabres going to do? How quickly can we build a rocket ship to shoot me off to one of those new planets that NASA found the other day? The 7.
Let's see what Sam has to say.
the
whole day has just been everyone interrupting Sam.
it's
How many Lloyd tacos could I
when you brought
get?
it up, Andrew. When you brought it up, what if Evander Kane cools down and we end up seeing him with 10 goals next year? That kind of scares me a little bit because that's a big setback. You signed this kid, you pay him a lot of money, and I mean, he gave you a return for 1 year, but not the year you really needed him to, step up and be that guy. Now, if they were to trade, if they kept him, okay, but I'm like this, crossing my fingers
So
as hard as I can possibly do.
Let the
so.
record state he's crossing his fingers.
I am like, you can't see. There's no camera on the mic.
It's like courtroom.
But to keep him, please just keep scoring. But if he does get traded, I would love to see a defenseman. I would absolutely love to see it because it's scary back there. You see teams every night.
Let the record show Sam looks mortified.
It's if I'm the goal, if I'm Robin Lehner and Anders Nilsson, whoever's in goal there, other teams are taking upwards of 75 shot attempts per night. Now, not all of them are on goal, but that means you're facing a shot attempt on average per game time every 48, 50 seconds, which is nuts.
Yeah. I would have to say for me, just to kind of wrap it up real fast, trade Franzen, trade Kulikov, because you're not going to, Franzen, he can be useful somewhere else playing, 12, 13, 14 minutes a night and playing power play time. He's still halfway decent on the power play. He's got the shot, yeah. Give him the shot, kid. But Kulikov, I'm on the fence with that. I mean, I want to see him in a full season healthy, but then again, if you can get something for him now, do it. With Kane, I mean, the more I think about it, the more I'm still on the fence. If you can make the right deal, which at this point I don't even know what the right deal is. If you can make the right deal, make the deal. But even if he regresses back to the mean, I think the mean for Evander Kane is like 16, 17 goals in a season, which is still better than nothing. But I struggle to think with how well the first time when Kane, Eichel, and Reinhart played together, it was a disaster. They were just all over the place. But the second time coming back together, they're gelling. And if you can keep that together, cool with that, because then the Buffalo Sabres have two solid scoring lines. We didn't talk much about the bottom six. We kind of did with prospects and stuff. But if you can make the bottom six a little better, I'm even cool with making taking a pick and going out and grabbing a guy that won't get picked in the expansion draft, but another team doesn't want, something like that to make the bottom six better, so you don't have to play guys like Nick Delorier. But I mean, with Baptiste and Bailey coming up, all that, and all the young guys, that may not even have to happen. So again, just don't be stupid. Don't go out and make a trade because you think it's a necessity and it's not. But if you can make a good deal for Kane, I'm for it. But if it's quiet at the arena on Wednesday and they just feed us and give us really good pizza and wings, I'm cool with that too. I'm being serious, man. Every year, man, the deadline, they order a lot of pizza, a lot of wings, and they take care of us. I'm not.
I went the year that they traded Neuwirth and got Chad Johnson, and we were there, and it was we have a personal story that we always go back to, and it's hilarious. And but I mean, you can watch Twitter, on deadline day if you're following Buffalo media, and when the pizza arrives, because everybody will tweet. Breaking news: pizzas arrived.
Pizza just acquired pizza for future cash considerations. Yeah, everyone does it. I love it.
Right, but I mean, I certainly hope that I get fed quite well on trade deadline day, because I'm sure that I'll likely be working from early in the morning all the way through late afternoon into the early evening hours.
I just leave my real job, my adult job, and go hang out with all the hockey writers, and it's fun. But
3 p.m. is the deadline.
3 p.m. is the deadline on Wednesday. But this has been fun, guys. We should do it again soon. Next time, let's have a little bit more of an actual list so we can stay on track.
We had
TJ's just I can see TJ just come back to life.
Lists don't help. I'm telling you, lists just do not help. I tried lists with Andy for at least our first 2 times doing podcasts together.
This is
and it was everything was me. No,
let the record state.
Really, the list. He's trying to fall over himself, trying to cut me off here.
Go get the popcorn.
We do small lists, and we'd never keep on track anyway. This is more of an indictment on me, and I can't keep track. This is my fault.
We did lists. It was Andy would write up a list of things that he thinks we should talk about, and then we were the Puck Luck podcast had no production, and that was why I loved it. But
I was about to say
history here, TJ Luckman.
I was going to say this is not only is this the Please Like My Podcast that we've been trying to start since July, but these two guys, TJ and Andy, have been super busy, which is understandable. But
now Andy hates me, and we're never doing this again.
But now we've got the Puck Luck podcast reunited for the last and final time. Yeah, let the record state at 3:36 p.m. on Saturday, the friendship between TJ and Andy has officially ceased existing. But I want to thank you guys for doing this today. TJ, thanks for letting us hang out at your house.
Oh, you're welcome.
You got Andy. Oh, they're hugging. Let the record state that they've hugged. They've made up. Got Andrew at
I hope that was picked up on the mic.
At Andrew Edits, at Steady Ride, at BJ Wilson WGR, at Sammy Rod R0D, at Wolf BLTD. I'm Ryan Wolf. Wolf with an E, yeah. I mean, just look up the pizza man. That'll be me. That's me, the pizza guy.
Hashtag branding.
Not the actual pizza guy. And not the porn pizza guy either. But anyways.
Can I order pizza from you? And a side of other things?
Do you want... Am I supposed to cut a hole in the middle of it? And... we got to go, guys, before we get ourselves in trouble. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Like I said, we'll have something up here soon after the deadline. We'll do this again sometime soon. Hopefully when it's nice out, we can hang outside and drink beers. And
as long as it's over here again, because, TJ, I like your roommate's cat a lot.
Yeah.
He's cool.
Is that the only good thing about my place? I can understand.
Not the TJ hugs or anything.
Oh, it's a nice facility that we're in, but
Thanks.
But hey,
We gotta go.
we are make sure you
carpeted.
follow BLTD Sports at BLTD Sports, BLTDsports.com. This is like the first time we've had like a BLTD Sports kind of everyone here who works for BLTD Sports. It's really cool. But we are better live than dead. You are not. Brayton knows you are not. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Let us know how bad this was, and we will thank you in tweets and likes and favorites and retweets. But thanks again for tuning in. Bye.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.
This free and independent sportscast is made possible when you shop the Gear Network store through Amazon. Visit GearNetwork.com and click on the Amazon banner to shop through Amazon's thousands of products at great prices delivered right to your front door. Again, that's GearNetwork.com and click the Amazon banner at the top.